Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the pod! We're getting closer. I can feel it. I can taste it. I can sense it. Football, 8 hours on Sundays, 3 hours on Mondays, 3 hours on Thursdays. Whew. Football, man. I just can't.
We're almost here.
I can't. I love this sport so much. It is the greatest sport to touch God's green earth.
Don't let the Europeans hear that one.
Yeah, they'll get triggered. It's way better than rugby or soccer.
Yeah.
But anyway, welcome to the pod. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. We are going to jump right into this podcast and try to get you the content as fast as possible. Not 35 minutes because I ramble. I tend to ramble. But today we're going to talk about early must draft players. I always love to put together a spreadsheet, and I suggest you do this too in each round. Maybe I'll do it. I'll tell you about this after. I'll tell you what I do after the intro stuff. But check out our website, fantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and other podcasting platforms, please leave a review and share this pod with your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like, and comment down below. So yeah, I like to create a spreadsheet of sorts that lists out the guys that I like that I want to, like, if I'm leaving a draft, that I absolutely want to make sure I have one of these guys on my team in each round. So it's almost like it's a must draft. It's a must draft guy in each round, or guys in each round that I like, that I tend to target. And so, there might be some players that are good that fall to certain areas that I end up drafting instead of some of these must drafts, but it kind of gives you almost like a draft roadmap in a sense to go through. If you do this for every single round, you'll know, oh, this player got sniped off of me. Oh, I can pivot because I already have this guy written down that I liked. So you can kind of have, you never feel like you're getting sniped. You always feel like you have a plan, but there's always guys that you're going to like in each round. And so I try to build that roadmap for each round so that I don't feel like I'm getting sniped or panicked in the draft, because the worst drafts that I've ever seen in the home league or in any league I've done are the ones where the dude just keeps getting his pants sniped right off. And he's like, oh, what the heck? I wanted that guy. And then the draft just keeps getting, we've all done it.
Keeps moving.
A couple of years ago, this happened to Rick, and the draft spiraled very quickly.
Yeah.
So you just have to, and I think I was the one sniping.
Yeah, I think you probably were.
Love it. But no, it's like you want to make sure that you have a plan of action. And I think, we're not going to give you all the must drafts. But these are just guys that we're targeting. We'll go round by round that we're kind of looking at. Rick will probably give a couple of guys, and I'll give a couple of guys I like, but that we're targeting early. First round's always really easy because it's like 100 guys I like, but
there's really no bad. I mean,
yeah,
you can make the argument there is, but it's hard to mess up the first round.
Yes. So it should be really interesting. But like I said, love to create that little roadmap. It helps you in drafts. So do it. Also have your rankings and all that other crap with you. But anyway, any other thoughts on that, Rick?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. All right. So let's go through picks 1 through 12. So this is assuming you're in a 12-team league. If it's a 10-team league, obviously you can adjust. Players will be a little bit better in a 10-team league. And if it's any shorter, like I said, you can just keep adjusting as you go. Figure out what picks, 1 through 8. If you're an 8-person league, you do 1 through 8, and then you do 7 to 16 and keep going from there. So, 7 to 16, 9 to 16, and keep going from there. So because we're 12, first round, we'll go 1 through 12, based on ADP here from sleeper.com. It's not even .com. Is it sleeper.com? Yes, it's sleeper.com. I thought it was sleeper.app. Was that
I think it used to be.
Was that the old one? Because they got sleeper.com. They bought sleeper.com, which I would think is a really good name for like a mattress website.
It is.
Somebody had that and they were like, oh, I'm a genius. And then Sleeper's like, fine, we'll pay you $5 million for it.
That's what we should have done, bro.
Deal. Yeah, I should have bought sleeper.com. But anyway, all right. So some guys here between picks 1 and 12 on the ADP for me. It looks like right now we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I'm only looking at wide receivers. Holy crap. There we go. We're better. We're good.
Like there's only 5 guys going in the first round.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't really add up.
Yeah, so there's 12 there right now. There's 12 projected players in the first round. Some rounds there's more players, some rounds there's less players. It works out that way, weird with the ADP. But some guys that I really, really, really am targeting. I'm just gonna give like 3.
Okay. So this show is just so we can snipe each other when we draft.
Of course, that's why I did this. I wrote this down so that I can snipe it. Okay. So first round, I absolutely love if I'm early in the draft. If your draft pick is early, I'm usually drafting Jamar Chase.
Okay,
so that's my first guy. Justin Jefferson is a great replacement for that. So it doesn't really. It's either
so you're the 101. Who are you drafting?
Oh frick! Don't even ask me that. It might be Jamar Chase. I might just go with my heart.
Yeah, that's fair. Go with your heart, bro.
Jamar Chase is a guy. If you're early in the drafts, I would go with. If you're in the middle rounds, I mean, not middle rounds. If you're in the middle of the first round, I'm probably taking Saquon.
Okay.
Or Tyreek. And then late in the first round, I love stacking. I'm not a wide receiver zero running back drafter, but I love the stack of CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, and that's just me.
That's for you what Chase and Diggs was for me last year?
Yeah, so I need to not do that. Don't do that, is what you're saying.
Well, that was a great play. It was just
it didn't work out. So yeah,
if Breece Hall didn't get hurt, that would have been great.
I would say the guys that I like,
and Chase.
Jamar Chase, probably CeeDee Lamb because of the PPR value, and then if I had to pick a running back, it'd probably be Saquon, or Eckler. So if Eckler falls to me in the middle of the draft, I would take him. In the middle of the first round, I would take him, but it's kind of tougher there. So I'm curious to see what your guys are.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. The way I view the first round is really tough. I love the first 3 picks. I'm not as high as Eckler, I think, as you are. Although I wouldn't mind him. It would just be a hard debate with me for him because I think the receivers are just after McCaffrey.
I was gonna say, like, who are you? Is that between just the top 5, or is that between other running backs?
Everybody.
Okay, all right.
I don't know.
Sorry, bad question.
To me, this is how I view it. McCaffrey is McCaffrey, right? And doing my projections, that's how it came out as well. Like he's head and shoulders above every other running back. Mm-hmm. Then it's just a bunch of guys. Like I think Eckler is the second best. But I don't think Bijan is far behind him. I don't think Saquon is far behind him. I don't think Nick Chubb is far behind him. So it's like I feel like I can just pass and get one of those other guys, especially if I have a later pick. The problem is I don't know if I'll be able to do that. So, but the guys to answer the question are the guys I'm really targeting. I always end up with Stephon Diggs. I'm always ridiculous about him. I don't know if this year I'll necessarily be targeting him because I think he's finally going where he should because in the past he's been like a high second round pick.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, my favorite spot, I'll give you the 2, has been Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp actually. Because for one, it's the middle of the first round, which I like having those middle picks for the rest of your draft.
Yeah.
And number 2, doing my projections, Tyreek Hill and Cooper Kupp are not really that far behind the top 2 guys either. And outside of McCaffrey, they're still ahead of every other running back for PPR points. So you're still getting a bona fide like superstar wide receiver 1, but you don't have to pay the price tag of a top 3 pick. So I really do like those guys a lot. I'll piggyback off you. I do like CeeDee Lamb a lot. I'm less in on AJ Brown. But it's the first round. Like you can't really mess it up.
There's not the only guy that Rick and I probably like very.
You're not going to see us draft either.
Yeah, is Travis Kelce. That's
right.
That's going to be a guy that we don't draft. But I like I said, if I'm in the draft, like I'm thinking about everything. What I've really been trying to think about in the first round is what's the best strategy for the early, middle, or late rounds? Because
that's the better thing to think about is if you're gonna go receiver here.
Yeah.
can you get good running backs? That's been my struggle.
Flip,
or if you do draft a running back here, are you going to be able to get
like in a
receivers?
PPR league, if we're early in the draft, not to give away my draft strategy for draft night, not that I've even gotten there on draft strategy brain-wise. I'm still thinking about it, but if I have an early pick, I don't know how you can pass on taking Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase.
Correct.
If you have one of the top 3 picks and they happen to be on the board for you. I just don't know how you don't take them. If you're in the middle rounds, like I said, it's kind of like a wash. Like it just depends on how your draft is falling. If 4 running backs go off the board, it might be a good time just to get one of the good ones. If all wide receivers are going off the board, maybe you pivot and take a running back there. It could go either way. I've noticed that in some of my mocks that I've done, if I end up later in the draft, between picks like 9 and 12, I usually take a running back in those positions and then flip it and take a wide receiver or do the reverse of that. So, because I feel like there's more value in that spot. And it also depends on how the draft falls a little bit later, So I've been trying to figure that out. I've been doing 100 mock drafts for all of the different positions in the draft because I'm trying to prepare for what I'm going to see.
Right.
And so, it's very interesting, but realistically, I don't think there's a guy. You should have like I would say a 90% hit rate in the first round, as long as guys don't get hurt. You rarely see a first round player absolutely bust out. So let's move to the second round and talk about guys from 13 all the way down to 24. So in this range, Nick Chubb is to me, I'm trying to leave a lot of drafts with Nick Chubb.
100%.
I absolutely love Nick Chubb. He's a guy that I'm freaking in love with. Like I hope I'm not wrong on that, but I'm all in on Nick Chubb. Like you talk about my guys, that's my guy. I'm taking him from you, by the way.
What the heck's up with that, dude?
Garrett Wilson would be my second guy that I absolutely love in this round. I think that if you drafted a running back in the first round and you're looking to go receiver in the second, you can't go wrong with Garrett Wilson. And then I don't mind Amon-Ra either for PPR value. Jameson's not going to play for the first 8 weeks? Is it 6 to 8 weeks?
6 weeks.
And Amon-Ra's a guy that gets the ball 100 times. He's going to catch 100 passes this year.
100%.
So he's a really good play as well. So what did I say to 24?
Yeah.
So so those guys are there. If Jonathan Taylor goes to the Miami Dolphins, that might be the funnest landing spot that I've ever seen for a superstar running back. And I would be smash and grab on Jonathan Taylor. He might shift back into the first round if that happens. So I don't know if that ADP changes that hardcore by the time that happens. I don't know when this trade goes down. Betting odds have him going to Miami, but if he goes to Miami, I would love Jonathan Taylor.
What are the other teams that are like the Rams would kind of be gross?
Rams would be gross, but I also think it wouldn't be horrible. I think it would be like a secret good landing spot for him because they like to get the ball to talented running backs.
That's true. He'd get 25 carries a game.
Yeah, so he'd be fine there. I would like Chicago. They've also talked about him there. If he goes somewhere like absolutely just bottom basement, the Jets call.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets are like, hey, listen, we got Brees, we got Dalvin.
Yeah.
You want to be the third guy? Sure. It's like stay far away. But anyways, who are the guys you're looking at in this round?
Well, it stinks that I agree with you on Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson as well. Garrett Wilson, I think, is if for anyone who has watched a second of the show this offseason knows how high, or even the past shows, because I was high on Garrett Wilson last year.
Yep.
So I'm obviously all in on Garrett Wilson. I think Nick Chubb is a great target, though, as well, especially if you went wide receiver round 1. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you get Tyreek Hill at pick 6, and then you're sitting there at pick 16 or 17, and Nick Chubb is there, like that is, to me, one of the best combos that you can get. Amon-Ra, as you said, PPR machine. He had 100 catches last year and he missed a game. So he's going to get like 110 catches this year, probably. So PPR machine, can't go wrong with that. A guy who I want to be in on, but I'm nervous about now. But if he can just fix his contract situation, I like Josh Jacobs as well.
Okay.
But he's somebody who, like, the holdout and everything is kind of
Yeah, I was projecting. I gotta find my projections here. I was projecting out the Raiders the other day.
He's my RB4.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know where he's at on my rankings.
Projections only but like my running backs are so close together. My RB9 and RB4 are only separated by 10 fantasy points.
Oh wow.
So
Josh Jacobs for me had 200. I started. I think I hit 260 or 270 in terms of fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was looking at some other people, and I'm like, I gotta dial this back a little bit. So I have him around 243, but Sleeper has him at like 230, 220, which I think is critical. Really? And it's like, why do they project him so low? When
if I have
they're
him
probably
gonna
run
season.
like they got him on that. If they got him on that, like I don't know what his contract situation is going to end up leading to. It sounds like he's going to play, but if he's playing on that tag, that's a lot of money to give a running back. They're going to give him 400 touches. Like it's not even like they're not going to pay him $20 million a year and then friggin' throw Zamir White on the field.
Not to talk about Josh Jacobs, but last year he had 327 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Like if he plays, he's getting a lot of fantasy touches. I think people are highly underrated him this year.
Yeah.
But the holdout thing and everything. But
anyone else in this round for you?
So to answer your question, the guys, Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, and I'll add one more.
Okay.
I'll add two more.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm kind of staying away from Jonathan Taylor. I'm the opposite.
Okay.
If
you go some
I like Jalen Waddle. I know you're not crazy about Waddle, but I like Jalen Waddle.
I don't mind him.
And then
be sad if
Tony Pollard. Big Tony Pollard guy at that spot. If I can get him
I'm
like
conflicted.
Third round.
I think it's just like shock factor of seeing Tony Pollard in the second round.
It is 100. If you can get over that, because like every part of me is screaming, like, that's so gross. I hate that. But on paper, like,
yeah.
It could be he could literally be a top 5 running back this year in PPR.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get, like, I think he could get, like, 50 catches. And then he's also, like, going to be he's not going to be a pure workhorse, but, like, he's going to get a lot of work. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was the RB8 last year. He's going to get more work this year. So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, all the power to you. I might draft him. Who knows? But he's just not on my
if I go receivers, he's definitely like in the first round. Like if you get Jefferson or Chase to the top of the draft, I would be targeting Tony Pollard for your turn pick.
So now we are going to the third round here. Pick 25 to 32, I think is what we're looking at, right? No, that's
not good math. 25 to 37.
24, 32. 25 to what?
37.
37, thank you. How is...
I think
12
picks.
12, what's 12 picks off of 24? 36?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 25 to 36. I effed up on my brain math. Okay, yeah, so some guys that I really like. Chris Olave has to be one. Hopefully Derek Carr actually ends up being good, but I think Chris Olave has a high ceiling, a wide receiver 1 ceiling. So this is one of those guys you can snag in the third round. You might have to punch the ticket late in the second if things are going that way in your draft. But if a lot of quarterbacks and tight ends go in the second round, you might be able to push this into the third. So I like Chris Olave. I don't know what it is, dude, but I've become more in love with Devonta Smith lately.
Oh, okay.
I know there's some things floating around for Philly in terms of like they don't.
So you love AJ Brown and Devonta Smith?
I do. I like Devonta Smith. I think they have a best. That football team, it's funny because I was talking to Rick before the show, and I'm like, the Eagles could absolutely collapse this year, but I also think they're so freaking good.
Yeah,
I just don't think this. I don't think there's a reality where they do crap out. I think they're at minimum probably going to win 12 games. So, Devonta Smith should be really good. I like Travis Etienne. He's probably going to end up on that list for me. But it's not. I don't expect like top 5. Like I'm expecting edge RB1.
Right.
Maybe. Probably an RB2. So.
Right.
Like if you already have 2 running backs, that's one of the guys. I'm curious if Rick is gonna like Ramondre here. So I'm gonna leave him off and let Rick take him if he wants him. And then for running backs here, Jahmyr Gibbs is a smash draft. I've been loving myself some Jahmyr Gibbs. So I would take him. I like Devonta Smith and I like Chris Olave. I also like T. Higgins. So those guys are also good. And then Travis Etienne. Justin Fields is not in this round, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. What do you guys?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the same boat. Chris Olave, I like him there. I don't think I would reach into the second though, because like where he's at, I like, but you start putting him ahead of other guys.
He's the first pick of the third round right now, though. So that's the
that's true. I mean, yeah, if you're like last or second,
that's the dilemma. If there's no one else available,
well, just because like I have Waddle and like the next two receivers would be Waddle, Wilson, or the next three, Waddle, Wilson, and Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
and I think I would take all those guys ahead of Chris Olave pretty comfortably.
Okay,
for me. So like. But I still do like him, like especially if he's there in the third round. I don't mind him at all. Mm-hmm. I'd probably be targeting him. I'd be targeting T. Higgins.
Yeah.
I've always liked T. Higgins. Gibbs, I think by far is the number one guy I'm looking at here. Because I think you can make the argument he's the best running back in this round, and he's going as the last one. I do think Ramondre is pretty solid. I don't know if that's tough. Because I'm trying to think of just guys that I'm purely targeting must draft. I don't know if Ramondre falls in the must draft for me, but he's getting close. If he keeps falling, he'll get in that category. But guys that I'm really like I want in this round is really Gibbs, number one, Higgins and Olave at wide receiver, and then if you want to throw in an extra, I guess you could throw Stevenson in there.
Okay, so this is where things start to get interesting because like. First, second round, pretty much everyone I like.
Yeah, it's hard. It's just picking your favorite guys at that point. Especially round one.
Right. Third round is where things start getting interesting. And then fourth and fifth here, the guys we're going to talk about a little bit deeper because there's definitely going to be guys that we're not interested in. And then there's going to be guys that we're totally interested in.
Real quick, like the third round.
Yeah. There's
guys that so two guys here. Breece Hall and Joe Burrow. I would not draft those guys at all in the third round. That doesn't mean I hate them because I have in best ball, I've drafted a decent amount of those guys.
Yep.
But just at that price tag is just way too high to me.
Yeah, like you're anticipating that Joe Burrow is going to produce like a top 3 quarterback. And I don't in fantasy football, I don't know if that's possible.
If you're going to draft a quarterback that high, take Mahomes.
When you have, yeah, for real.
Take Jalen Hurts at 23.
Like you're anticipating that Joe Burrow can throw 40 touchdowns this year.
Which, I mean, he might.
He might, but the chances of that 40 touchdowns are hard to do. So
it is hard to do. He had 36 last year.
Yeah. But anyway, let's talk about the next round, which would be pick 37 all the way to 48. So some guys I'm interested in here. Obviously, Calvin Ridley, we've talked about a million times, so that'll be somebody that Rick and I probably agree on. I have been smash drafting Aaron Jones here. I think the Packers are going to be better than we think, and I don't mind Jordan Love. So I think there's going to be some positives to Aaron Jones here. I like him. I don't mind Joe Mixon either. Like if you're in a draft and you're looking for a running back in this round, I think Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon are all 3 decent options. But I will say my favorite of the guys is probably Aaron Jones. You're probably safer with Joe Mixon. Like if you want a floor play, Joe Mixon. If you want to he could score 3 touchdowns on Monday Night Football play, Aaron Jones. Another guy that I have been stacking lately, Justin Fields with DJ Moore.
Okay.
So I might take the quarterback shot here with Justin Fields. I don't suggest drafting a quarterback in the 4th round, but if quarterbacks are flying off the boards and you want to get a good one, Justin Fields is not a bad option here. So I like I said, Calvin Ridley, Aaron Jones, Justin Fields. I think that's about it for this round. I love Hawkinson. You know, he's my guy, but I just can't draft him this high. So
I was interested. I saw your projections, dude. And Sleeper has him pretty low too. I have Hawk way higher.
That you probably hit like 140 targets on him. Did you not?
I might have. I don't think I hit 140.
I hit 140. In just the averages from when he went to the Vikings. He was averaging
I got 138.
So he was averaging 8.8 targets a game last year with Minnesota when he got traded there. And I multiplied that by 17, and he ended with around 140, 150 targets. So I was like, he ain't doing that again. I project him at 120, 130.
Yeah, that's probably
if you were watch the Vikings, it was an inefficient 8 targets a game. Like, he'd get the ball for 6 yards per catch. It was just gross.
Right.
So I think they're gonna work to spread the field a little bit more and figure out an easier way to get him the ball. But it'll probably be somewhere around 120 targets. He'll still be a top 5 tight end, and I don't like if you want to draft him high in the 4th round, feel free. But yeah, I don't think he's gonna get over 200 fantasy points this year.
That's fair. To me, so the wide receiver position in this round is I'm not crazy about. So I want to get those first 2 guys, either Debo or Calvin Ridley. Mm-hmm. Ridley by far, though, ahead of Debo. Ridley is like I would draft Ridley in the 3rd round. He's somebody who I'm obviously very high on. So a 4th round pick, I'm all there for. I agree with you with Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon. I'm not that crazy about Walker, but I'm good with Mixon or Aaron Jones as an old man running back to just slide in there if you need a pick. I like Aaron Jones a little more. I agree with you. I think it's not just because of the Packers. I'm not necessarily sold on the Packers, but for me, it's just his pass catching.
Yeah.
In PPR, like that's a huge plus. That's why I like Gibbs. One of the reasons that I like Gibbs so much is the pass catching. I think Aaron Jones is a guy who has had 70 targets. He had 72 targets last year. He's a guy who I think could get 70 targets again.
Yeah.
Get close to like 60 catches. So if he does that in PPR, like he's going to be just fine. And then, yeah, the court, this is the round where I would consider drafting a guy, a quarterback, either Justin Fields or I don't want to draft him this high, but I would consider it Justin Herbert.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this final round here, unless you have any more on the other round.
No, that's about it.
All right. So this is picks. If you're in a 12-team league, write it down. Picks 49 to 60 would be the 5th round in a 12-team league. DJ Moore, like I said, stacking. I did not love DJ Moore coming into this season. I love the Bears picked him up. I love that it's good for Justin Fields, but I wasn't excited about the opportunity share that he would get. And then I saw some preseason games, which is not a good way to predicate this, but I think DJ Moore is going to frigging light it up, honestly. I think he's going to be really good. So I don't think the target share is going to matter because it didn't matter for A.J. Brown. So could see a similar situation happen for DJ Moore like that. Rick and I have been smash drafting Jerry Jeudy in this region for a long time.
Yeah.
And
he would have been very high on this list.
It sounds like a soft tissue injury, a hamstring injury issue here for Jerry Jeudy is the fact that he's dealt with some injuries in the past, and the injury risk, the re-injury risk is high for him. So, like, if you draft him, you're taking that plunge, you're taking that risk, and to me, like, I kind of want to see how the next couple weeks play out before the season starts and see if he's capable of playing week 1 before I kind of like really say, hey, this guy should be on my draft list. I don't even know if I'll draft him on draft night. And I hope I'm not wrong on that. But just for a guy that has been struggling to,
stay on
the field, set it, like actually get a breakout started, right? Where he had a decent season last year, but have a situation where he ends up a wide receiver 1, like it's been tough for Jeudy. So I don't know if I want to put him on the must draft list, but he's very close if he's healthy. Miles Sanders has been must draft for me. I like him in this region. I also I don't like Drake London. I haven't liked him. I don't like Alexander Madison. Dobbins is okay. I do like Christian Watson at 59, and Kyle Pitts at 60 has been a guy that I like. So those are some of the guys that I've kind of been hitting on. I think it's DJ Moore, Christian Watson, Kyle Pitts, and maybe J.K. Dobbins if you're looking. J.K. Dobbins and Miles Sanders if you're looking for a running back.
Yeah, for me, I feel like some of these quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence and Herbert, maybe even Fields, will probably fall. I don't know if Lawrence will actually be a 5th round pick by the time you draft. Like in our league, I don't think he will be. Mm-hmm. But if he is, I don't necessarily love him there, but we'll see. Okay. McLaurin and Jeudy are 2 guys I probably would have definitely considered on this list, but both with injury histories. But Judy's is even worse. I don't know. He definitely would have been number 1 on this list for me, but And I still want to draft him,
but there has never been a reality for me where I look at Terry McLaurin and I'm like, I need this guy.
Yeah, no,
it has nothing to do with Terry McLaurin. I never even get to a point where
he was wide receiver 14 last year.
No, he was good. Maybe it's like if Terry McLaurin went to a football team with a quarterback, that might change.
Yeah, if you had Patrick Mahomes, it would be over. But this round is kind of weird. There's not a lot of guys I love.
Yeah.
I do like Christian Watson. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I like Darren Waller. I like Kyle Pitts, so you could see me taking tight end here.
Mm-hmm.
And then DJ Moore, I don't love, but if I had Fields, I would probably do that stack. That stack is very intriguing.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, hey, it's whichever.
Did you
one
mention
of us
Miles
gets
Sanders
Fields first? I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, this round, like you said, is weird. Now, there's a trend that I have noticed. So, one thing that I like to do after I, write down rounds, if you know what your pick is, you can kind of figure this out. But you write down, if you know what your pick is, you write down your pick, and then you write down players within that vicinity. Like I said earlier, where we're going round by round, writing down some must-draft players. What I'll do is I'll figure out which players, right, have the most, which positional group has the most players in that round, and then I'll target that player in that round. And that'll kind of help me determine what I intend on doing in the entire draft. So what I noticed here is that for me, there's a lot of guys, I like Miles Sanders here. I don't mind J.K. Dobbins in the 5th round. In the 4th round, Aaron Jones. You had Joe Mixon. A couple running backs that I'd like to draft there. I draft Kenneth Walker. Jahmyr Gibbs was kind of at the end of the 2nd round. But the earlier part of the draft, what was there? A plethora of really talented, good receivers that can score a lot of fantasy points early. So is there a question for me this year where you go wide receiver, and then pivot to those running backs in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round and maybe mix in a wide receiver in there? Could you do that and get away with it if you don't end up with one of the top tier running backs? I'm not suggesting zero running back because I don't think it works all that good, but
I don't know, bro. It's 2023.
If you're thinking about it,
it's not zero. Is it zero running back if you go wide receiver round 1 and 2, and then you go running back the next 3 rounds?
Oh, no, that's not really zero. That's not zero running back.
Yeah.
Zero running back is completely different if you want to classify
zero running back.
I wait until the 7th round to. Yeah, no, exactly. I just mean I don't normally not take a running back in the first 2 rounds. I usually take at least one running back in the first 2 rounds because I want to have that positional advantage of having a top tier running back. But I might pivot this year off of that and draft 2 wide receivers early because there is a lot of wide running backs later that you might be able to take because there's a run on wide receivers early. So that could be something that happens, but it really depends on what pick you have. If you have a late pick, between pick 9 and 12, you could pivot and say you could get Jahmyr Gibbs at 312 and then go get a Miles Sanders or something or not Miles Sanders, but go get an Aaron Jones in the 4th round and have 2 good running backs and stack those 2 good guys, like CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown in the 1st round, or CeeDee Lamb and Garrett Wilson, for example, in the first 2 rounds, and have that ability to put that team together late. Whereas you're not going to really have that ability in the first couple rounds without reaching. So it's just where you're at in the draft. But anyway, my ramble is over. Any thoughts?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Always love doing this show. I wish I could do the middle rounds and the late rounds because it's always interesting. But it kind of gives you a little bit, like I said, a roadmap. Gives you an idea of what you're going to do on draft day. And it just tells me that we're closer and closer to draft day.
Okay.
So excited. NFL season's right around the corner. Mock draft tomorrow. See you later, guys.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.